Coming up, fire teams responded to local brush fires.
And Israel's retaliatory strike in Iran increases tensions.
And the Boston Celtics celebrated their 18th championship.
Hello and welcome to WEBN General News. I'm Wendy Zhang.
And I'm Emily Mole. Let's get into tonight's breaking news. Multiple fire teams responded to a brush fire impacting the areas of Salem, Peabody, and Lynn. In the last 24 hours, around 18 new fires have sparked across the state of Massachusetts due to current dry weather conditions and no expected rain in the forecast. Fire crews struggle to limit the spread. Areas without present fires can still expect heightening smoke conditions. In an attempt to understand the spread, crews continue their ground investigations with accompanying drones monitoring potential dangers.
Israel's retaliatory strike in Iran on Saturday has further escalated ongoing war efforts.
Well, I cannot go into the details, but one thing I can tell you that we proved last night that we can get anywhere in the Middle East. There is no target behind our reach, and we showed that our Air Force is one of the strongest one, sophisticated one in the Middle East.
Targeting critical Iranian energy sites. The country avoided hitting nuclear facilities at the Biden administration request. Following Israel's attack, Iran foreign minister said it was both, quote, unlawful and aggressive. On the other hand, according to the New York Times, some Israeli officials argued that action were not enough. Iran has since tried to ease fears about the attack that killed 4 soldiers, but many wonder how potential response can heighten the war crisis.
The Boston Celtics celebrated their 18th championship by receiving their rings and raising banner 18 before their season opener against the New York Knicks. The ceremony included a touching video tribute highlighting the journey of stars Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Celtics legends include Bob Cousy and members of the 2008 championship team were present, reinforcing the team's storied legacies. Players and coaches, including Joe Mazzulla, expressed deep emotion during the event, reflecting on the hard work and sacrifices that led to this moment.
In a major labor development, Boeing machinists have voted to reject a new contract offer, continuing a strike that has stretched over 6 weeks.
We're getting closer, but it's not enough to make people satisfied to feel as though we're going to go forward from here.
Approximately 64% of the International Association of Machinists reject Boeing's proposal term. The term includes a wage increase, but did not meet all union demand. The prolonged work stoppage impacts production across Boeing facilities in Washington and Oregon. This ongoing strike added significant pressure on Boeing's operation and financial outlook.
During a recent CNN town hall in Pennsylvania, Vice President Kamala Harris labeled Donald Trump as, quote, fascist, marking a significant escalation in Democratic rhetoric against him.
There is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court, and in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body.
Harris affirmed her belief in this characterization when asked by host Anderson Cooper, connecting it to broader concerns about democracy and the admiration for dictators. Harris's responses highlighted her campaign strategy of focusing on the dangers posed by Trump.
As Election Day drew closer, polls are showing just how close a race might get. For more information on election and politics, we have Lis Fonseca. Lis?
Thanks, Wendy. The New York Times and Ciano College have reported their final national poll for the presidential election. The results, 48-48. This equal divide is coming less than 2 weeks before Election Day. The election will be effectively determined by 7 battleground states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. President Biden made his first trip to a Native American reservation in Arizona to formally apologize for the federal government's role in running Native American boarding schools. Between the early 1800s and late 1960s, thousands of children were placed in boarding schools in an attempt to erase their culture. This is the first time in American history that a president publicly apologized for the abuses and unjust actions made by the government. Former President Donald Trump invited comedian Tony Hinchcliffe to set the tone for his Maddison Square Garden rally in New York just weeks before Election Day. Hinchcliffe riled up the audience with his jokes on immigration, beginning by welcoming immigrants into the country with, quote, open arms, as he made a shooting motion. He also referred to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. The Trump campaign has since distanced itself from Hinchcliffe's remarks. That's all for politics. Back to you at the desk.
An attack at Turkish Aerospace Industries in London left at least 5 people dead and 22 injured on Wednesday. The 2 attackers were killed during the incident. Turkish officials condemned the attack, suggesting that the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, were responsible. In response, the Turkish Defense Ministry conducted airstrikes on 32 PKK targets in Iraq and northern Syria. The investigation of the attacks is still ongoing.
NATO has confirmed North Korea's involvement in the Russian-Ukraine war, stating that 10,000 troops has been stationed in Russia over the past few weeks.
The deployment of North Korean troops to Kursk is also a sign of Putin's growing desperation. Over 600,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or wounded in Putin's war, and he is unable to sustain his assault on Ukraine without foreign support.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte confirmed the report of the deployed North Korea troop in the Kursk border between Russia and Ukraine, the region where Russia have been struggling to gain. The response to a question about the recent deployment, President Biden said, quote, dangerous, very dangerous.
One country has raised over $1 billion in humanitarian aid for Lebanon as conflict in the Middle East countries to grow. For more on international news, we have Kelly Egan. Kelly?
Thanks, Wendy. A conference held in Paris raised $1 billion in pledges for humanitarian and military aid in Lebanon. The conflict between Hezbollah and Israel has brought significant loss of civilian life in Lebanon, with 2,500 dead and 1 million displaced. French President Emmanuel Macron had called to bring in aid in support of the country, promising $100 million. Refugees fleeing from Lebanon to Syria resorted to crossing the country's border on foot by a makeshift bridge. The refugees were desperate to flee after the official boarding crossing was put out of commission due to an Israeli strike 2 days prior. The Israeli military accused the Hezbollah militant group of using the crossings to move military weapons and equipment from Syria to Lebanon. Only 3 functioning crossings remain between the 2 countries. And Tropical Storm Trami hit the northwestern Philippines on Friday, setting the record of one of Southeast Asia's most deadliest storms this year. The flooding and landslides left 126 dead, with many isolated areas still in need of search and rescue, according to the President of the Philippines, Bongbong Marcos. That's all for now. Back to you at the desk.
Coming up after the break, more information on the Plymouth shooting.
And a look on this week's forecast and how it may affect the this year's trick-or-treat. And information on the parade honor the New York Liberties.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Welcome back to WEBN News. The man accused of shooting and killing another man in Plymouth on Friday is now saying that he acted in self-defense. 41 years old Brent Berkley confronted 23 years old David Durham after a minor traffic incident on Friday. The argument evolved into a fight between the two, ending with Berkley found dead with multiple gunshots wounds. Durham was arrested soon after and has since pleaded not guilty for multiple counts, including murder and importer storage of a firearm.
As Halloween approaches, people are preparing their best costumes for the weekend. The latest weather updates to help you plan accordingly, we have Zhi Zhu. Zhi?
Thanks, Emily. It'll be mostly sunny today with a high of 51. Overnight, it's going to drop down to 37 degrees. Some clouds tomorrow will warm up to 57. Midweek, we've got temps up into the 70s. Can you believe it? Wednesday, it's going to be 71 with some clouds. Mostly sunny on Thursday, up to 75. Beautiful warm weather for Halloween. And Friday, it's 71 with a small temperature drop over this weekend into the 50s. That's all for this week's forecast. Back to you guys at the desk.
The New York Liberty were honored with the Grand Ticker Tape Parade down Manhattan's Canyon of Heroes after winning their first ever WNBA championship, defeating the Minnesota Lynx.
Sacrifice. Everybody has really poured into the team to make sure that we would end up being successful, and now we have the ultimate prize. We have something that can never be taken away from us, and that's what it's all about.
Mayor Eric Adams awarded them the key to the city at a City Hall ceremony. This parade marked the first win since 1973 and showed the strong support for the women's sports and inspired local pride.
One of the most highly anticipated World Series rivalries has left people on the edge of their seats this week. For more on sports, we have Anthony Ciano. Anthony?
Thanks, Emily. Game 1 of the World Series kicked off in dramatic fashion between the Dodgers and Yankees. Game 1 on Saturday went into extra innings. Dodger first baseman Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th. This is the first time in a history of a World Series game that a walk-off with a grand slam has ever happened. The Dodgers took the win 6-3 in Hollywood. In Game 2 of the World Series, the Dodgers ultimately gained their second win of this series with a close 4-2 victory. The New York Yankees will attempt a comeback going into Game 3. Miami Dolphins star Tua Tagovailoa is finally returning to the football field after suffering a concussion during a game against the Buffalo Bills. Before being cleared to play, during an interview with CNN, Tagovailoa said, quote, "We're back, baby. Start me this week." And that's what the Dolphins did after Tagovailoa was cleared before the Dolphins game Sunday night. The Dolphins would lose 28-27 against the Cardinals. 32-year-olds Tanner Wanish and Mike Vail from Utah recently beat the Triple Crown Yosemite climbing record. They climbed the combined 7,000 vertical feet of El Capitan, Half Dome, and Mount Watkin in just 17 hours and 55 minutes. The couple did not begin the challenge with the intent of breaking the record. The duo now joins a club of only 8 other people who have scaled this challenge in less than 24 hours. That's all I have for sports. Back to you at the desk.
The owner and manager of cargo ship Dolly, which caused the deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore, have agreed to pay a $102 million settlement with the Justice Department. The settlement does not cover the estimated $2 billion needed to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge, with Maryland filing its own claim for the damages. The collapse occurred in March when the Dolly lost power and struck a bridge support, resulting in deaths of 6 road crew workers. The Justice Department alleged that poor maintenance of the ship's electrical and mechanical systems led to the accident.
Coming up after the break, what actor is considering retiring from an action movie?
And how one hippo is taking the internet by storm.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back to WEBN News. Liam Neeson is considering retirement from action movies by 2025. In a recent interview with People magazine, the 72-year-old actor stated that, quote, "It has to stop at some stage. You can't fool audiences." Neeson, who is known to play stunt-heavy roles, acknowledges he relies on stunt actor Mark Van Silo. He hinted at wrapping up his action career, saying, quote, "Maybe the end of next year."
One of the most prolific criminal cases of the 1990s is being revisited after 30 years. For more on that and the latest entertainment news, we have Chloe Fadem. Chloe?
Thanks, Wendy. The Los Angeles County District Attorney recommended resentencing the Menendez brothers in wake of recent attention from the documentary focusing on their lives. They are both currently serving life sentences for the murder of their parents in 1989. The brothers were only 18 and 21 at the time of the killings. This recommendation will be presented to the Los Angeles Superior Court judge, and if approved, would make the brothers eligible for parole. Cardi B missed her headlining performance at the Atlanta Music Festival this past weekend due to a medical emergency. While she let fans know that she had been in the hospital for the past few days, no further details have been released about her condition. Cardi B posted on her Instagram saying that she will be back and stronger soon. Harvey Weinstein has been diagnosed with a rare bone marrow cancer. The 72-year-old ex-Hollywood producer is currently serving a 16-year sentence at Rikers Island in New York and is awaiting retrial for his 2020 conviction, which would add another 23 years to his sentence. Weinstein has also recently undergone emergency heart surgery. There was no further information provided by Weinstein's healthcare representative about his cancer. That's all for now. Back to you at the desk.
The baby pygmy hippo named Muden has become the global social media sensation and is also raising awareness for endangered species around the world. 4 years ago, Boston Franklin Park Zoo welcomed its own pygmy hippo, Ptolemy. According to Franklin Park Zoo, there are less than 3,000 pygmy hippos left in the wild. Zookeeper hope that Muden's popularity can raise awareness for the endangered species and inspire more conservation efforts for these animals. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning into WEBN General News.
For more updates, head to WEBN.TV or check out our Instagram at WEBN General News. Have a good night.